jardim de esperança, amor em construção, flor que não se cansa, vida é evolução, sementes de amor que Deus plantou pra germinar, trazendo a paz, filhos da luz, do amor do Pai do céu, do Pai da paz, filhos da luz, do amor do Pai do céu, do Pai da paz. Terra canteiro de bênçãos, jardim de Deus, ensinando a semente criança, crescer no amor, na esperança, filhos da luz, do amor do Pai do céu, do Pai da paz.
We're ready to begin. So I'm just going to share the screen here, and then I'll do the initial prayer tonight. So in this moment, I invite us all to close our eyes, take a deep breath, relax on the chair or wherever we're seated, and let go of all the worries of our days. Imagine as you exhale all the tiredness, all the worries, any feelings and sensations from this day going out with that breath. Imagine you're inhaling peace, inhaling beautiful white air, clear. You're exhaling anything that you do not want to hold inside you anymore at this time. We do this and we find ourselves that through the breath, we can connect better with ourselves, also with all the good spirits that are here with us tonight, involving us, surrounding us with so much light, with so much love. We feel Jesus here with us, involving us, embracing us. We are very thankful and grateful to God and to Jesus for the opportunity that we have tonight to study the gospel, to learn a little bit more, to enlighten ourselves and grow our spirit, taking care of such an important part of ourselves. We thank you, dear God. We thank all the friendly mentors of the house that are here with us, superior spirits that embrace us every moment. Stay with us, dear Jesus. May we all have our open hearts to receive the messages that are going to be brought for us today. So it is.
Can you all hear me well? I put the headphones with the microphone. Thank you. I apologize for that. Sometimes when I put the microphone here, it kind of gives me issues. Okay, so welcome everybody. We are going to study tonight or talk a little bit about the Gospel according to Spiritism, chapter 26. And the theme, the name of the chapter is Give Freely What You Have Received Freely. So I'm going to go over the slides and we'll talk a little bit about it, about what the main teachings are here. And then I invite you all to participate, to ask questions, and to unmute and let me know if you want to share or enhance this study. Okay. So the very beginning of this chapter, the item number 1 of this chapter is this passage of Matthew, where Jesus says, "Heal the sick, raise the dead, cleanse those who have leprosy, cast out demons. Freely you have received, and freely you give." It seems like such a small passage, but there's so much about it that we can learn. And the main point that this chapter brings to us, especially on the commentary of Allan Kardec regarding this passage in Matthew, is it brings us it talks about mediumship and not charging for mediumship. And so it focuses all the attention on the freely you have received and freely you give. But I think like there's so much more to this passage. So we're going to talk a little bit about each of them separately. I came across to a speech, a study actually about this passage that opened up my vision in my eyes to what Jesus really meant when he said this phrase, and I thought it would be very important to share. So that's why I decided to kind of to talk a little bit more in detail about this small passage. So Jesus starts saying, "Heal the sick," right? So he's inviting us to restore the health of the sick. But he's not only talking about the physical health here. When Jesus talks about the health, it's not just the physical part of it. And today, in modern science, the World Health Organization, they define health as a state of complete physical, mental, and social well-being, and not merely the absence of disease or infirmity. So we see here that health, even in the human aspects and definitions, are not anymore just um, envisioning the physical body, right? What manifests through the physical body. So the concept of health can be very broad. And when Jesus says, "Restore the health to the sick," what he's bringing to us is a responsibility to restore the state of well-being of those that are around us. Not just the physical, but also the intellectual, the psychic, the spiritual part, the mental and the spiritual health and well-being of all those that are having some sort of imbalance, right? And being in a spiritual center, being in a religious place, we become instruments of Jesus. We become instruments of God's grace. And we have a duty to contribute to rebalance those around us and to rebalance ourselves, because we learn through through the gospel, we learn through Spiritism that we all have this ability of healing ourselves. We are the only ones that can truly heal ourselves. The outside and what we achieve from the doctors, from medications, from therapies, they're all resources for us to heal ourselves inside. But it all has to start inside ourselves, right? Because disease is a discomfort, is a dis-ease, right? So when you're healthy, you are in the state of ease. But then when we are unhealthy, when we're having issues and problems, we have this dis-ease. This, the prefix, this is something that is against, it's not that anymore, right? You're taking the ease off. So disease is discomfort. And we learn when we study André Luis, when we study Spiritism, when they talk about diseases, that all the diseases, they have origins in the mental and the spiritual field. You know, it doesn't only have the origin in the body, right? All diseases, they first initiate, they're born on the field of our emotions and our thoughts, and then they manifest in the physical body. So what Jesus is inviting us here when he says heal the sick, he's inviting us to be the doctors, not just from the body, but doctors of the soul, right? In Spiritism, the Spiritist Center, we call it the school of the soul, right? Because it's in the soul, it's in our emotions, our feelings, uh, and that's where our disease and our discomfort starts. We might blame on the outside, we might try to find reasons for genetics, or we might try to find reasons in the environment. But in all honest, when we study, when we learn, especially like reading André Luis, we learn that diseases originates in our mental field, in our thoughts, in our emotions, right? So to bring this relief to the things of the soul is what Jesus is inviting us when he says heal the sick. We are also, most of the time, we worry so much about physical pain because when we talk about diseases, when it's already manifested in the body, we can measure it, we can treat it, right? It is treatable, it's measurable, and but then we sometimes forget the pains of the soul. There's so much loneliness in the world. People that they're so fragile when they face difficulties, when they face challenges. So many people that are lacking hope, that are lacking faith. Oh, these are diseases of the soul. It creates a weakness. It creates this frailty inside our hearts, inside ourselves. So all those are like camouflaged things that we sometimes don't see. And as much as we may try to mask them or treat them with medications, there are no really medications that are going to cure these diseases of the soul. But the only thing that usually will bring comfort and consolations are affection. You know, us embracing people, us giving a hand, you know, being friends and being there for those that are going through these difficulties. So, and all of these are things that we are all able to offer. So when Jesus says heal the sick, he's inviting us to offer all the good that we have, to offer um, these these virtues that we are so trying to develop inside ourselves, you know, to put them to good use and help those that are in need in all aspects, but not just the physical health when he means to heal the sick. Yeah, and we learned that in the Spiritist Center, we're not only healing the physical body, we're healing everything. We're healing the feelings, the thoughts. It's so much more. It's so much more holistic and more complex, right? So then, oops. Then Jesus said, raise the dead, right? So in this passage, he says, heal the sick, raise the dead. And then if we read this passage, you know, how can we raise the dead, right? We know that through science, once the body dies, once the physical body dies, there's no comeback. We're not gonna raise the dead and bring them back, right? The body's gonna decompose. The body's gonna become something else in the world, and we don't use that anymore. We don't need that anymore. So Jesus obviously did not mean to resurrect the body, right? What he referred as the dead here are the dead for the true life, you know, the dead for the life of the spirit, those that are still not aware of the spiritual life and the immortality of the soul. So, and we look around, we see that many of us are still in this condition of being dead to these realities, to the eternal realities that we have around ourselves, right? About the eternal life, our conditions as eternal beings that we are. So when Jesus has raised the dead, we resurrect, you know, those that are dead for this spiritual life. He's inviting us and asking us to help out, to bring back those that are disconnected from this divine truth, you know, inviting them to learn more, to understand the eternity of life. And this is a huge role that spirit is plays in people's life in that sense, right? So we can collaborate to change the view that a creature, that a person has of his own life, you know, because we're so attached to this material world, and sometimes we put our values all in the material world, and when we don't see those values, with our intentions and values satisfied, we get lost. We we get disconnected to life itself, to the purpose of life. So clarifying these values of the spirit for those that are around us, right? So bringing the virtues we learn on chapter 17 of the gospel about the good man, about all the virtues that we can develop inside ourselves to be a good person, right? Having more ethics, loving others, having more compassion, more tolerance, more patience. So many of these that we so ask for, you know, and we see here that Jesus is asking us to follow this, and invite others to follow with us, right? So resurrecting the dead, raising the dead here, as Jesus said, is changing paradigm times for those that believe that when we die, things end. And Spiritism comes to show us that, especially like during such a difficult time that we're going through. There's so many are leaving the body, are leaving this planet, going back to the spiritual world, and without this preparedness, without this notion and these concepts in them. So this is a moment that it's so important for us to be able to share and bring this consolation, bring this comfort to our friends, family, and all those that are around us, and stay firm and strong in the Spiritist Center, you know, working, volunteering, and being here to see this doctrine expand all around us, no matter where we are, you know. So spiritual knowledge really makes a revolution in the life of the person. You know, it can give a person a new life. You know, that for me, it was a division in my life, you know, before Spiritism and after. It changed so much inside me. It taught me so much. It helped me really become a better person, and I'm so grateful for that. So something for us to think about, and understand what Jesus meant when he said raise the dead in this passage of Matthew. So then Jesus brought to us cast out demons, right? So when we think demons, we think of mean spirits, of evil spirits, and those spirits that are still ignorant in terms of ignoring the good that life has, ignoring the good, and just opting and choosing the negative and the bad, right? But if we think about demons just as the mean spirits, it's too simple, you know, and it's not what Jesus wanted to show us here. You know, because so we learn through spirits is that when we pray, you know, through prayer, we can bring so much light, and that is going to dissipate the shadows. You know, if we really pray with fervor, with um, with our hearts, and ask for help, and that alone is it's such a wonderful resource and tool that we have to dissipate this darkness and bring in some light. But when Jesus says cast out demons here, what he meant are not just the spirits, the inferior spirits, right? The demons that Jesus meant here are the internal demons that we carry inside of ourselves. Those feelings, those negative thoughts that we still carry with us, right? Those that are born out of impulsiveness. We live in an impulsive world, right? We're so attached to the material things, We are trying to fulfill desires of our physical body, our sensations, our senses, be that in the um, in just fulfilling the physical body, but having more and achieving more, just just like holding ourselves to values, material values, instead of the spiritual ones, right? So what Jesus proposes to us is that we cast out these demons, that we work and look inside ourselves and take those out and remove that and detach from them, let it go, you know. And when you tell something or someone to get out, you know, when you want something to leave, to move away, we need some aspects of obedience. And when we talk about obedience, we talk about discipline, right? Obedience is born out of discipline. And that's why when we go back to Spiritism and we learn, you know, we remember when we talk of discipline in Spiritism, I think for many of us, it brings back this image of Emmanuel telling Chico Xavier, you know, if you want to be a good medium, a good instrument of Christ and of God, you must have three things. And when Chico asks, what are these three things? Emmanuel tells him, discipline, discipline, and discipline. Right? Because the discipline is what helps us correct those habits that we carry with us, to control, you know, those habits that we still have in us, all these moral addictions that we still carry inside of ourselves, which are totally inadequate when we think about the spiritual life. Right? It contradicts the divine's laws, and we know that these habits cause us suffering. There are some simple habits and vices that we have, and attachments that we have to food, to beverages, that we know it makes us suffering. It's not beneficial for us, but we insist in doing that. But once we learn, we open up our consciousness that is not giving us any benefit, and we are willing to change, and we put ourselves and say, okay, I want to change and I am going to change, then we can be, you know, if we put that discipline in there, we can correct. And in so many things we can see examples of that around us. So something for us to also think about, you know, what are those demons inside ourselves. You know, it's like on um, the mountains that Jesus made, you know, that he talks about, that if we have faith we can move mountains. And those are the mountains inside of ourselves that we want to go over, that we want to transpose, and removing all these inferior feelings and that we still carry inside of ourselves, this habit, these replacing this with the virtues that we want to see developing. So then we finally come to the last sentence there: give freely what you received freely, which is the name of this chapter. So we here, like I said, and we're going to talk a little bit about that right after we finish this slide. When we're talking about spiritism and you read that, it makes us think about mediumship. It makes us think about the Spiritist Center, where everything that we do in the Spiritist Center is free. There is no charge, right? And there's even more that we can give besides just the volunteering and the work that we do here. So when you think about what did we receive for free, I have to give something free that I received for free. You know, when we evaluate that, if we reflect, we received everything for free. God gave us everything. It was all given to us. We got life. We received the gift of life, and you know, the opportunity to reincarnate and better ourselves and take care of all the mistakes of the past. You know, we received a body, a healthy, beautiful body, a perfect body perfect for us. No matter what their body is and how their body looks or how it functions or doesn't function, it is perfect for us and for the needs that we have right now in this moment, in this moment of our evolution, in this reincarnation. We received a family. We were born out of a mother, so we received the mother. We received opportunities. We received so many divine blessings through our lives, right? And of course, it's not all. We have to put efforts into it, right? All of our achievements are linked to our efforts, to our free will, to choose to do that, to want to do that, to put our efforts and our discipline to achieving good things, right? So there is our contribution to everything that we have, because as Jesus says, you must knock on the door for it to open. He told the man that could not walk, was like, get up and walk. He didn't went there. He didn't go there and pull his hand and say, come on here, let me get you up. No, get up and walk. Get your bed and walk. So we need to do our part. We have to put our efforts, but we need to also understand that everything that we achieve and that we receive is under the permission of the divine law. Nothing happens if God doesn't allow it. So all the riches has this benefit of this divine mercy. Everything that we have, everything that comes to us, they're all blessings of opportunities that are given to us. That's why we attract that what we think about and what we desire. The manifesting laws, those are divine laws as well. When you really want something, you vision that, you visualize and you put the effort. It's like almost a certainty that you might achieve that. So there is our part, but it's not only us. Everything that we achieve, everything that happens to us, comes from the divine law, from the divine grace for us. So in the same way that we received this gift of life, we receive a body for learning, for growing, evolving in this reincarnation. We receive family, we receive friends, all that loves us and support us, right? That listen to us. We should extend all these gifts, all that we receive. We should extend that to those around us, to the ones that might have less, or to the ones that might be needing that in a certain moment. It's our gratitude should be exteriorized in a way of helping others. So how do we do that? How do we give what we receive freely? Right? So it's extending these blessings without imposing charges. Because when you impose charge on someone, when you ask for like for a person to give back to you, oh, I do this to you, so you do that to me, this instills guilt. It's a burden. You're not giving. No, you're changing, you're trading, and you ask for something back, and that's not what life is about. So when we help someone, when we offer a hand, when we embrace someone, we should do that out of love, out of like, I want to give this because I have that inside myself and I have it abundantly. So why not share? Right? So treating our neighbors with true mercy, just like God is merciful to us. Being careful with our words and demands, being careful to not impose our ideas on those that we're helping. Because if we do that, if we put this burden on someone else, we can make them suffer even more, and generate even more suffering imbalances to these people. So we do not want it that way. We want to help and to give freely, respecting always the choice, right? So we have to respect the free will and their choices, like you said a little bit before, without imposing, right? But joyfully distributing everything that we have received. So these are some something that I wanted to like a different view on this passage that I really enjoyed and I liked, and I thought it would be interesting to bring to. Anybody want to say anything about this? What do you guys think? Okay, we're quiet. I'll keep going. But if you want to say anything, please do. Okay. So, what's the yes? Yeah, go ahead. Mhm. Mm. 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 That's nice. Mm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So nice that you mentioned this because if we think about it, I love that you said that it's our true state, to be this way, and we incarnate, we get to this planet, to the body, to the physical world, and we get lost in it. Because if we think about it, when we read about the spiritual colonies, when we read Andrea Louise, even when we read Patricia on the violets on the window that we just finished studying, it um, it seems so easy to be this way, to act this way, and to give and to contribute, because everybody in the spiritual world is doing. Everybody in the colonies are doing this. So there's so many examples, and this is the norm there. So that's why I guess that's why I think we reincarnate here on Earth, where this is not the norm, and we gotta learn to make that the norm again. That this is the true test and trial that we go through to try to practice that in a world that where so many of us are so attached to this material world. So, yeah.
Another thing about this chapter. So I was it's interesting because this chapter was the chapter that I studied in the gospel at home last week. And then there is the chapter is amazing. It talks a lot about, why mediumship, we couldn't charge, and blah, blah, blah. But anyway, like there is a small point, and this small point is so obvious. But when you read things and you are like, yes, it's like definitely it. And it says like it's because it's also based on the principle of equal opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
Understanding that we live in a world that is so unequal, and people have, different lifestyles, and some people have more money than others. If, if for instance, if charging for mediumship, for healing, and all of this would be allowed, then this means that this is not equally offered to everyone, that not
Yeah.
everyone will have the same right to access
Mm-hmm.
these things. And I mean, of course, there are other reasons, the spiritual and all of that, but this is so simple. And this is like, what I mean is just like it is the basic. And I don't think I had ever grasped it. I
Mm-hmm.
never understood
In that way.
quite
Mm-hmm.
well until last week when I was studying. I am like, yes, it's definitely that. It's given by God to us, and
To
it
all.
should be available to everyone. So it's just
Mm-hmm.
like as simple as the principle of equal opportunity.
This is great. Thank you, Angie, for sharing that. Yeah. So the gospel, when we right after the passage of Jesus that we just discussed and we talked about, Kardec comes to talk about it, right? And what he brings to us is that when Jesus said that, so I'll bring back the first slide. So when Jesus told us the gift of healing, heal the sick, raise the dead, cleanse those who have leprosy, cast out demons, freely you have received, freely you give. So when Jesus told us that, Kardec brings that he was prescribing us that we should not charge for something that we have not paid for. So we should give freely that which we receive for free. And then it brings this the idea of mediumship, that the disciples, the apostles, they also had received mediumship freely. So when Jesus was talking to them, he was reinforcing that they should use that faculty that was given to them by God to relieve those that were suffering, to spread faith, to console, to comfort, right? And never to use mediumship as a business, as a way to make money, as we sometimes see it done in the world that we live today, right? So when we come to a spiritist center, when we talk about mediumship, um, and we in the spiritist center, we use our mediumship with Jesus, right? So talking about mediumship being a gift, right? As Christians, as spiritists, we must reflect upon this and think about why was it given to me? Why was it put into me? It's a tool, it's an instrument, something that I might use it to benefit for the benefit of all, right? But in order to use that and put that into a good use, we must study, we must understand what mediumship is. And then comes again the discipline, the dedication, right? And to detach ourselves from just the material and study the spiritual side of ourselves, right? So the mediumship with Jesus, and it's using it only for the good of others, and for our good as well, because it definitely helps us to evolve. It brings so many good benefits for us, and practicing and putting it to good use without receiving anything back, any advantage, anything material for that as well. So whenever mediumship is used with any kind of interest in receiving retribution, it ceases to be reliable. So it stops to be, you cannot trust it. You don't know what kind of spirits are around those that are using it to receive money for it. So we all are more or less mediums, as we learn, as it said on the Spirit's book. And we all have this faculty to a degree or another. And this is our means of interacting with the spiritual world, right? And so one thing that Anjara was talking about it being available for everybody, we also learned through this chapter that uh, mediumship is present all over, anywhere. It doesn't choose the intelligent, the less intelligent, the poor, the rich. It there's no distinction, right? So it does not depend on any noble qualification, as it says here. Actually, it's the opposite, right? The ones that have it more ostensibly are here to develop those noble moral qualities, because they definitely don't have it. So it is a means to help others and help yourself as as well. But since we know free will is there for all of us, mediumship can be used for good, but can also be used for evil. So something that we gotta be aware of. And in order to produce something good out of it, you need to develop those virtues. The medium, first of all, needs to develop the virtues inside himself. And that's why the spirits tell us that our first duty is to instruct ourselves, to study and to understand, to comprehend that. What do I have and why do I have that? Why is it here? Right? And those who have it more developed, they have even more obligation to know this well, to understand it. And understanding that it's not a privilege. We sometimes say that mediumship is a gift, but it's not a gift in terms that you're better than others. It's a gift for yourself, for your improvement. It's a gift that God gave you so you can learn to be of service, and you can learn to develop all the virtues inside you. So, talking about mediums, the goals of the mediums is to become a good medium and also a good person, to be willing to serve all those that are in need according to the possibilities and capacities and abilities that we have, right? So to understand our role as an instrument in this relationship, in this communication between the discarnate world and the incarnate world. As Chico Xavier used to say, like that he was a telephone line. He was just the telephone between someone talking one way end and the other talking on the other end. We're just an instrument, and we're not special. A medium is not anybody better than other or more special. And like I said, it helps develop virtues inside of ourselves. So, giving for free, what you receive for free, is a warning as well from Jesus on the misuse that can happen with the mediumship. So, which should always be used for the good of all, right? So, after this part, there's also a part that talks about paid prayers. I'm gonna think I still have a few minutes. I'm gonna go over this. So the passage is from Luke, and it says, while all the people were listening, Jesus said to his disciples, beware of the teachers of the law. They like to walk around in flowing robes and love to be greeted with respect in the marketplaces, and have the most important seats in the synagogues and the places of honor at banquets. They devour widows' houses and for show make lengthy prayers. These men will be punished most severely. So the part here that Kardec brings attention to is this part that says they devour widows' houses and for a show make lengthy prayers. So when Jesus mentioned that, he was talking about paid prayers, which obviously it's not charitable at all, right? So if someone say, oh, you pay me and I'll pray for you, that's definitely not charitable. And prayer in itself is an act of charity, right? It's something that comes from the heart. It's something genuine. When you talk, when you ask, when you're thankful, when your prayers, it's beautiful. It's so pure and genuine and comes from your heart. right? It is an act of charity when you're praying for someone else. So Kardec brings to us this passage saying that when we're praying, when we're asking, to receive something for our prayers, then the prayer becomes a formula, which you're selling that, right? And it's like, okay, the more you pay me, the better my prayer is going to be, the bigger, the lengthy prayers, as Jesus was saying there, on that passage. So again, Kardec is bringing this passage, the spirits are bringing this passage to show us that um, we should never charge for mediumship. We should never charge for prayer. That everything in the house of Jesus, be that whatever name it might be, a church, a temple, a synagogue, a spiritist center, nothing should be charged, right? As God does not sell the benefits that He grants. He does not sell anything. He gives this to us, right? So, so when we think about prayers and paid prayers, Kardec brings to us that no one needs an intermediary to address God and His messengers, right? So Paul, in the Act of the Apostles, he says that for in Him we live and move and have our being. So for in God we live and move and have our being. So we all can talk to God through our prayers, through our gratitude, right? He's always around us. He does not need any person as an intermediary to tend to His children. And then, so this part like brings to us that we can always pray to God, asking for another person, but always as an act of love, of affection, as willingness to help. Wanting and wishing that that person is going to get better, is going to heal, is going to overcome any difficulties. Having confidence that God is listening to us and that He's going to help. So always as an act of love, not as a way and a means of gaining anything for that. Right? And when it's still like on this part of paid prayers, we see here there's a very quick example that Jesus brings to us on this another passage here, where Jesus entered a temple and he saw that people in that temple, they were selling things, religious items, religious things. And Jesus entered that temple and He began to drive out those. The ones that were buying, the ones that were selling, right? So He did not allow anyone to be doing that. And as He taught, the disciples about that, He said, "Is it not written, my house will be called a house of prayer for all nations, but you have made it a den of robbers." So Jesus showed us in this passage to us that He is, He's condemning the selling of these things, of any holy thing, the things of religious concepts in whatever form that is, because God does not sell His divine blessings. God does not sell His forgiveness. He doesn't sell. We don't have to pay to go to heaven. We should not pay to go to heaven, right? And so therefore we don't have the right to charge for anything that we do. And this is what is the principle of the Spiritist Center. And as Raphael mentioned, charity is the principle, is the truth and what we want to learn to become inside of ourselves. And then this part is what Andiara actually mentioned, right? And right after that part of the merchants, there's this part that talks about the mediumship free of charge, and how God, through the mediumship and through the benefits of religion and the faith and the consolation that we spread, how the willing of God is that this reach everyone. And it's so unfair if someone say, oh, um, I cannot have faith, or I cannot be healed because I cannot pay for it. That is not a mediumship. And also, mediumship is not a privilege. It is found everywhere because of that. And we should never receive payment for using, for offering mediumship, for working through our prayers as well. Because then it would divert us from what this is meant for, which is the true charity and the true state of giving for free all that we have received for free, as we have talked about and Rafael brought for us so nicely and kindly today. So, and the last sentence that Kardec brings is that mediumship is something sacred that must be practiced in a holy and religious manner, and it teaches us to really respect that in all that is its aspects. So that's what I had for today. Do you guys want to say anything? Who wants to talk about this passage? Anything that you learned, or anything you'd like to share and enrich our night today, our study? I really appreciate you all, and thank you for listening. Mhm.
That was wonderful, Anna. Really helpful. I do have a question, and I was curious. I think I've asked you this before. Is Reiki considered a form of mediumship? No. I mean,
No, go ahead, Rafael.
spirits. Energy. Okay.
Magnetism.
Okay. Uh-huh. Reiki Center. Yeah. Yes.
Mhm. Mhm.
Yeah, that's very misguided for somebody to do that. And the reason I ask is, I do Reiki, and but just based on speaking to this person specifically, she's not a spiritist, she's spiritualist, and she's very kind and very loving and very, but she does, she does Reiki. And I feel like maybe it's a stepping stone for someone that maybe not have really fully been introduced to spiritism the way we are. But I think once you get to understand that, yes, you can manage your own energy, but that you tap into something that, like mediumship, I think you can't go back. It's like it would be a return to go back to Reiki and do that. It would be a manipulation of things. But I was just wondering your take on it. That's what my thought was also. But I just wanted to confirm. I like it a lot, and I don't have the pleasure of being right next to all of you, but hopefully I will soon. But
Mhm.
I want to make sure that was something that was, I think the intention matters, but I want to make sure that was something that was okay. It was not,
The intention matters. The
Yes,
principles of Reiki are very similar to the passes, right? So it's balancing the chakras, the centers of force. So the principles are very similar. And I have a feeling that most people that do Reiki, they have a very good mediumship attached to that. You know, they have the feeling, because when you give passes and you have that, you feel it in your hands, you feel the energy. So they know, they have that. But it's like you said, not all of them have been exposed to Spiritism and learned the possibility of using this in a different way. So it's something that we cannot judge, and we got to be very careful and honest too.
yeah, I did ask her when I met her. We talked about, reincarnation, and she's from Germany, and so she's never been introduced to Spiritism the way we know, and she has the energy and she has the kindness and she wants to help, and she's very generous with her time. But anyhow, thank you for clarifying. I don't want to extend it too much.
Yeah.
But I hope things
It
are
can
going.
be very controversial. So it's difficult to talk about this.
Yeah. Yes, I was reading about Mesmer last week. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. And that's a great point, because I think anybody who has the intention to help, you know, doing the work of even share your own magnetism it is a gift that you're doing. It's something that you're giving on yourself too. And I think if the intention is there, and I'm not saying from a Reiki, from charging perspective, but wanting to do something good for others, because I think that's what Mesmer was trying to, he was trying to figure out a way to do this, to help. And I don't think we realize how much it just helps, even when we don't realize we're being helped. It doesn't come out of our mouth all the time. Um, it's a great analogy, actually, the doctor analogy to this. Thank you
Yeah.
for.
Mhm.
Yeah. Thank you.
Very nice. Thank you. Everybody else has any other questions? Okay, so we're going to go through the passes now. So make sure that you have some water by your side, and that you find yourself in a comfortable position and a calm place. And I'll give it to Andiara now, and she will guide the passes for us.
Right. Can you guys hear me? Good. So let's all close our eyes. Take a deep breath. Elevate our thoughts. Letting go of all the feelings from our day. Really connecting with the higher spirits. Connecting with our guardian angel. And for that, let's imagine Jesus. Let's imagine Jesus right in front of us with his open arms, smiling and inviting us to come close to him. He's inviting us to let go of all these feelings and be happy. So at this time, we'll invite our mentors and the good spirits to be right next to us and to help us with this past treatment. We ask God to let us all receive all this healing and to help us during this process. Let's now imagine crystal clear water falling all over our heads. This water is washing all the tension, all the anxiety, and the feelings that we have with us that are negative. All the energy that is not ours. This water is washing us, purifying us, helping us to restore our centers of force, removing all the negative energy, not only from our spiritual body, but also from our organs, from our cells, removing the sickness, and help us to stay clear and balanced. This water is also washing inside of our houses, cleaning the environment in which we live. Not only our home environment, but also the environment in which we work. Let's imagine this beautiful water cleaning the environment in which we live, in which we work, and making these places clean energetically and physically clean. Thank God. So now we proceed to the replenishing passes. After we are feeling clean and feeling light, we are now ready to receive this beautiful rays of light, this beautiful light from the good spirits, from Jesus, is coming from the top of our head. And it's helping us to re-energize our physical and our spiritual body. Let's visualize this beautiful light, feeling our body, restoring our centers of force. This light is coming to us through our breathing, through the pores of our body, and also through our mental thoughts. And this light is making us stronger, is helping us to restore the balance in our organs, in our souls, in our centers of force. This light is also brightening the space in which we live, making our houses and our workplaces bright, full of a good vibration, a good sensation, and harmonizing the place in which we live, the place in which we work, and all those people who live and work with us as well. Let's also in this moment share this light and imagine this good light, this beautiful light going over the hospitals, helping those who are suffering, and also the teams of doctors and nurses who are taking care of all these sick people, these patients that need their care. We are now thankful to God and to the good spirits for helping us during this time. Passing name of Jesus. We now ask the team of good spirits to bless this water in our table, putting good energies in this water, blessing this water, and putting in this water all the good benefits that will restore our energies in our physical bodies. Thank you, God. At the end of this night of study, we say thank you to God and to the good spirits who are with us tonight, guiding us through this study, preparing the environments of our homes, helping us to harmonize and energize with each other. Let's say thank you and ask for their guidance. Ask them to keep our hearts open for these teachings, and also to keep ourselves and our minds always open to new teachings and to all the opportunities for doing charity and being good, spreading the God's words and spreading good kindness to all people around us. Let's also pray again for all those who are in distress, for all the families who are suffering in this moment. Let's send them good vibrations. And let's ask God to be merciful and to help all these people, giving them the strength to overcome all the difficulties that they may face. Finally, we ask that our group of study here, that we may all be harmonized, that we may all return in here every Tuesday night to study together and keep learning, hoping to progress in our spiritual evolution. Let's all go now. Have a wonderful week. Thank you, and so be it.